Hello, dear friends, and welcome to our weekly program on the Spirit's teachings. The Spirit's teachings we find in the Gospel according to Spiritism by Allan Kardec. And almost every chapter offers us a perspective on behalf of spirits on high. Usually the chapters start with some quotes from the Gospel, Mark, Luke, Matthew, and the likes. And then Allan Kardec helps us understand those passages and the greater subject matter, only to be followed by spirits on high that have come through mediums, and they are compiled at the end of each chapter under the Spirit's teachings. And today we're finding ourselves in chapter 16, which is entitled, You Cannot Serve Both God and Mammon. Before we go into the Spirit's teachings, let us quickly and briefly summarize what Allan Kardec is saying about this. He starts off by reminding us that wealth is a very slippery slope. More dangerous than poverty because why? Why would wealth be more dangerous than poverty? Well, when we're wealthy and when we have money, there is an allure there, right there. It's because of its allure, the temptations it creates, and the fascination it exerts. And I'm sure we can all admit to that. And then he says, it is much easier to arouse pride, selfishness, and lust. And we know that the root cause of all evil in mankind is selfishness and pride. So money and wealth tickles that. And then he says that the attachment to earthly riches is often an obstacle to our salvation. And then he continues on to equal true charity with self-sacrifice. So let us make a mental note of that. First of all, we know that charity begins when duty ends. And Emmanuel in Thought and Life defines duty as a number of deeds in the realm of goodness. Once we've completed those, charity begins. And now we're even further fine-tuned and learning that true charity means self-sacrifice. So we're not just giving what's convenient, and we're not just giving what we have enough of or too much of. And then he says that humans have the mission of laboring for their material improvements. And as a result of that, we will be measured. And wealth ends up being an element of progress. It can be. Once we've jumped over the gap of temptation. So then he speaks about the inequality of riches, and he says that poverty is for some a test of patience and resignation. And on the other hand, wealth is for others a test of charity and self-denial. So this is also good to know. If we feel we don't have enough, let us practice patience. And if we have a lot, let us remember it is a test of charity, true charity, and self-denial. So now let us continue with the Spirit's teachings. The first one is entitled True Ownership, and it comes to us from Pascal, who brought this message in 1860 in Geneva. And for this purpose, we will be sharing the screen. So we have a little bit of a visual support, which can only help us. So here we go, dear friends. Let us see. And I'm saying hello to all the dear friends who have joined us. Thank you so much. Please feel a hug. Feel a hug of warmth and sunshine from California, even though it's raining. So here we go. The Spirit's teachings in the Gospel according to Spiritism. We're finding ourselves in chapter 16, and we begin with item 9 by Pascal. So what does he say? He says humans, and we want to preface the next part of our study that we're not going to read every word from the spirits. We're picking out highlights, sometimes more than others, and you're invited to read the whole chapter and also the spirit's teachings. So true ownership. Humans truly possess only what can we only truly possess? So maybe we can ask ourselves real quick. It's kind of like a little quiz to see whether we have the answer. What can we only truly possess? Well, it is what we can take with us from this world. So any investment we do into our eternity, into the eternal aspect of us, which is, of course, our spirit and only our spirit. What they find upon arriving and what they leave behind upon departing from this planet, they can only enjoy during their stay. So this is only temporary. However, since they're forced to abandon it, they can only enjoy it and not truly possess it. We started off the chapter by saying humans truly possess only what they can take with them. Everything else, our home, our cars, even our family members, even though on the spirit level, of course, it's a very different matter. But in the roles they play in this lifetime, it is transitory. We can't take any of it with us. So enjoy it. But let us remember, we don't truly possess anyone or anything. Nothing that is for the use of our body, or he says for their body, namely our body, but everything that is for the use of their soul. Intelligence, knowledge, and moral qualities. And those items we can take with us. So intelligence, knowledge, and our moral qualities are part of our eternal investment. So this is important, friends. These are what they bring with them and what they take back. So then he gives us 2 examples. He says, just think about we travel to a far-off country. We only pack, and hopefully we'll only pack what's useful for us for this journey. And then he says a traveler who arrives at an inn will receive a bedroom or let's say a guest room. Let's put it this way. They arrive at an inn, they receive a guest room in accordance to their financial means on our planet. Now, the same thing happens with us when we discarnate. We travel, right? Or we check into a new dwelling. And then he says, the same applies to humans when they arrive in the spirit world. Their place there depends on their means, just like at the inn where we arrived. However, they will not pay with gold. So it's not monetary means that will depend how we situate ourselves in the spirit world, like at a physical inn on planet Earth. We will be asked upon arrival in the spirit world, how much did you have on Earth? What position did you occupy there? Were you a prince or a laborer? But they will be asked, what have you brought back with you? And that is the key question. Everything else is not important. What have you brought back with you? The value of things or titles will not be acknowledged. The only thing that will be acknowledged is the sum of our virtues. So, friends, it's really easy to remember, right? Our moral transformation is key. That is an investment into our eternity. That we will take with us. That we truly possess. And we're not just enjoying it, we're also enjoying it. But we also truly possess that knowledge, intelligence, and moral qualities. In sum, our virtues. Thus, in this respect, the laborer may be wealthier than the prince. And let us remember that too. And that will help us to not judge the book by its covers. If somebody appears and is poorly dressed and has no financial means and is not that educated, we don't know about their soul qualities. We have no idea. We don't know what's going on behind this facade. So we're invited not to judge. Because here, as Pascal reminds us, he says the laborer may be wealthier than the prince. So, dear friends, let us remember the sum of our virtues is all there is. Our intelligence, our knowledge, and our moral qualities is the only thing we truly possess. Let us move on. It's still, this entry is by a protector, M, a protector spirit. It's item 10 in the Gospel according to Spiritism. And it's also entitled True Ownership. Let us see. The goods of the earth belong to God. And that's another very important thing for us. To remember that anything and everything that exists on earth in the universe belongs to God. And also our perceived possessions that we just learned we only enjoy but not truly possess belong to God. Even our titles. They are, yes, we contribute to them, we do our share, but in the greater picture, they're a gift from God for us to multiply. So the goods of the earth belong to God, who distributes them as he will, and humans are only their stewards, administrators at various degrees of honesty and intelligence. So the titles, yes, we did our share, but we are only the stewards or the administrators. And then he says, you might say that this is understandable in regards to inherited wealth, but the same does not apply to wealth acquired through one's labor. It is being claimed. And he continues to say, undoubtedly, if it is legitimate wealth, then it must have been honestly obtained. For property is only legitimately acquired when to possess it one has not done harm to anyone. So this is one particular important aspect. Have we done harm to anyone else by acquiring our wealth? Have we cheated? Have we cut corners? Have we taken it away from others? Have we stepped on others' toes? Have we used that elbow technique? Survival of the fittest in the intelligence, in the intellect to receive our wealth. So this is a personal question for us to ponder, to meditate on, to see where we can improve ourselves moving forward, where we may have to do reparations. Reparation is one step to our regeneration. It always starts with repentance. And then there is reparation and expiation. Indifferent, that's not the order of events necessarily. Only number one is always repentance. Then he says, there will be an accounting for every cent wrongly acquired in detriment to someone else. So, dear friends, this is serious. We need to remember that. Now, we can't immediately undo what we've done wrong in the past, but we know we can repent, we can repair, and we can certainly move forward with a different set of morals in our hearts and minds. In allowing people to acquire wealth, God might have wished to reward their efforts, courage, and perseverance over the course of their current life. However, if they use it only to satisfy their sense of their pride, or if it becomes a cause of failure in their hands, it would be better for them not to have possessed it at all. They lose on one hand what they have gained on the other, thereby annulling the merit of their labor. So if we labor hard and work hard for years and years to become a professional, and then we abuse our power, that's what he's talking about. We are in trouble. There's an accounting for every cent, so to speak. We lose on one hand what we have gained, and on the other, thereby annulling the merit of our labor. When they depart the earth, so he's talking about us, when we depart the earth, God will tell them that they have already received their reward. So if we always look for acknowledgement, if we always just think me first and selfishness and pride, and it's only this one lifetime and it's all about me and my success, well, let us think again. Because then at that very moment, we have not been charitable. We've certainly not been truly charitable, which is self-sacrifice. And then we've gotten our reward already. And we will have to account for all of this once we discarnate at the latest. So it's not worth it, is it? So let us remember, we're only stewards and administrators of the good of earth at various degrees of honesty and intelligence. We have to account for every cent wrongly acquired in the detriment of others. And let us remember, if we use wealth selfishly, then we have already received our reward. Okay, friends, let us continue. Next one is the use of riches. Item 11. It's by Chevreau. Not exactly sure how you say it. Item 11. He says, you cannot serve both God and mammon. And we've heard that before, certainly. Remember this well. Remember this well. You who are dominated by the love of gold. You who would sell your soul to possess treasures because they can set you above other people and provide you with the pleasures of the passions. Well, this really summarizes us, doesn't it? This whole chapter today is really helping us to see our wealth, both the actual monetary wealth and our intellectual wealth, in a different light. So it's all about our passions. Have we worked on reining in and controlling our passions, or are they still running wild, like wild horses, destroying everything on their path? That's a personal question for us to ponder again. If you feel your soul dominated by the covetousness of the flesh, make haste to rid yourselves of the yoke that crushes you. Because the just and strict God will say to you, what did you do with the wealth I entrusted to you, you unfaithful steward? Only to serve your personal satisfaction did you use that driving power for doing good deeds. Only to serve your personal satisfaction did you use that driving power for doing good deeds. Again, we're being asked, how are we making use of our wealth? How? We cannot serve both God and mammon. It's not possible. It's either or. It's black or white. There's not much of a gray zone. There's probably none. So we have to make a choice, dear friends. And Chevreau is helping us. He's asking a very important question. And let us listen to that, because it will help us make a choice and make our choice more easy and more effectively. What then is the best use of wealth? So how are we best making use of our wealth? Let us find out. He says, seek in the words, love one another, the solution to this problem. Thank you, Chevreau, for making it easy on us. So, what is the best use of our wealth? we're looking to the recommendation that Jesus gave us: love one another as I have loved you. Love God above all else and your neighbors as yourself. It's all in the one and the same, neighbors and God. Love one another. And he's defining it even further. Let us follow and see what he says. It says, therein lies the secret for the good use of riches. Those who are animated by love for their neighbor have their course of action all traced out. There it is. The use of wealth that best pleases God involves what? I know you guys can guess it. The use of wealth that best pleases God involves charity. It's a trivia question, isn't it? Yes, here it is. The use of wealth that best pleases God involves charity. So when he says, what is the best use of wealth? Love one another. How can I love one and my brothers and sisters best? Through charity. And there it is. Not that cold and selfish charity. And now he's further defining charity for us. That consists in scattering around oneself the surplus of the golden existence, but rather the charity filled with love that seeks out the unfortunate and lifts them up without humiliating them. You who are rich, give of your superfluity. Do more, give something of what you consider necessary to you. And there it is again, self-sacrifice. Let us give something that is necessary to us, not just the old clothes that we don't want anymore anyway, and we just now donate them because it's easier than trashing them and because our trash box is too small or something like that. You see, and then we turn it into charity. No, today we're learning that's not the case. True charity involves self-sacrifice. So we don't only give what we consider unnecessary, because what is necessary to you is still superfluous. However, give wisely. Some further fine-tuning. Give wisely. First, seek to alleviate. Next, gather information and see if work, counseling, or even affability might not be more effective than your charitable donations. So, see, so far we've just focused on equal charity with donations. But there's yet another type of charity. Let us reread this because this is really key. It really helps us to make better use of our riches. And Chevroux is very, very down to earth, very practical, making it really easy on us to understand how to use our riches. Number one, love one another. Number two, don't only give what you can spare, but self-sacrifice. Something that is hard for us to give is important. And we don't do it with an attitude, we do it to lift up. Now, he says, then see something else. Seek to alleviate. What is our intention? We want to alleviate pain, suffering, loss, whatever it may be. Then let's gather information, he says. So here we see a situation. Before we just take our sweat off of our bodies, let us gather information and see if work, counseling, or even affability might not be more effective than my shirt that I'm taking off. In addition to your wealth, spread all around you the love of God, the love of labor, and the love for one's neighbor. So this is not so easy. There's lots of steps, and we may actually, when we read this chapter again, make a little list. We can stick in our cars. So then when we're out and about, or we have it in our purse, or as a man, maybe in the fold of our phone or our pocket, wherever, where it's readily available until we have it downloaded permanently, until it has become part of our immortality, this list. because this is an investment in our immortality. This is really what truly counts and will never be taken away from us. Let us remember that, friends. All right, so love of God, love of labor, and love for our neighbor. Set your riches upon a foundation which will never fail you and which will bring you the big profits of good deeds. The riches of intelligence should serve you just as the riches of gold. Spread the treasures of learning all around you. Scatter the treasures of your love over your brothers and sisters, and they will bear fruit. Friends, we are invited to not only serve, we cannot serve both God and mammon. And to best make use of our wealth, we need to love one another. And to share our wealth in a way that pleases God the most involves charity, true charity, charity filled with love. It seeks out the unfortunate, that lifts them up. And before we donate something from our wealth, and already we've checked off, yes, self-sacrifice, let us investigate. Let us first evaluate the information, the situation, and gather information to see whether work, counseling, or affability may actually be more effective, dear friends. Spreading our love, the love of God, the love of labor, and the love for our neighbors is key. Because we are wealthy of intelligence and gold. Even if we don't think we are, dear friends. We all have something to give. All right, let us continue. Item 12. And this is still entitled The Use of Riches. Now we're getting more counseling by a protective spirit. Whenever I consider how short life is, I'm grievously impressed by your incessant preoccupation with your material welfare, whereas you attach so little importance and devote so little time to your moral improvement, which shall be counted to you for eternity. Can you guys see they all are saying the same thing? From the original Gospels to Allan Kardec, over the Spirit's teachings, all teaching us the same. Let us not overemphasize material wealth. Let us make sure that our investment is actually more tilted towards investment into our eternity. But if we're completely still out of whack in terms of out of balance, in terms of where we put our focus, let us at least equal it. Our impetus, our focus on our material wealth, and our focus on our immortality. He points out our preoccupation with wealth one more time. Then he says, in most cases, it is nothing more than an attempt to satisfy exaggerated needs and vanity, or to give yourselves over to excesses. These reasons are the root cause for us to focus overly on matter, on materialistic values, exaggerated needs, vanity, excesses. So now in our nightly review, in our daily observations of us, in our inner transformational work, let us add those. Where am I in terms of vanity? Where am I in terms of excesses? Where am I in my exaggerated needs? How much grief, worry, and torment you inflict upon yourselves. How many sleepless nights to increase wealth that is often more than sufficient already? At the height of such blindness, one often sees those to whom an immoderate love for wealth and the pleasures it provides subjected to pain-filled labor. How many of us slave away just to spend it on the weekend on the bars, or on another purse, on a bigger car, on higher heeled shoes, whatever it is that is materialistic. Fools, do you then really believe that the worries and efforts motivated by selfishness, greed, or pride will be taken into account while you neglect the care for your future, as well as the duties that fraternal solidarity imposes on all those who enjoy the advantages of societal life? You have been thinking only of your own bodies, whose well being and pleasures have been the sole object of your selfish solicitude. For your body, which dies, you have neglected your spirit, which will live forever. This is the key sentence. That master, so cherished and cared for, has become your tyrant. It commands your spirit, which has become its slave. Is that the purpose of the existence that God has given you? We know the answer. We say no. We know better. But there's one other step. From knowing better, are we really practicing it better too? Because we do not want to neglect our spirit, which lives forever, over our body, which dies. This is very impermanent here, that's sitting here. Yes, we want to take care of it. Yes, we want to keep it useful and healthy as much as possible. That's our duty too, because this is a sacred vehicle. But to overemphasize and only see making this body more beautiful and younger, and all the, working on the hair and the color and all the whole long list we have, and then only then do we feel good about ourselves, and totally neglecting or just minimizing our moral transformation, our practicing the good, charity, self-abnegation, and of course loving our neighbors. So one more time, is that the purpose of the existence that God has given you? What is the purpose of our existence that God has given us? And we know the answer is to improve ourselves. Right, friends? All right, so we're moving on to item 13, which will be our last item. It's by Fenelon, and Fenelon we know and have started loving. He shows up a lot of times. He's also in Heaven and Hell, one of the cases. And so let us see what he tells us. The use of riches. So this is, again, under the same chapter. We have three, under the same headline, we have three different spirits. Fenelon is the last one. How to make use of our riches. That's what we're learning. Since humans are the trustees and administrators of the wealth that God places in their hands, a strict accounting will be demanded of them regarding the use they have made of it in virtue of their free will. You guys, you see, same counsel. It must be the truth. Same counsel. We are trustees and administrators of the wealth that God has given to us, and we need to do accounting for what we've done with it. So let us make a list of everything we have. Where is our wealth? And what are we doing with it? From the material wealth to the intellectual wealth, to the moral wealth, to every little bit. Let us make an accounting, because it's better to prepare. We have a few more years to live, so God willing, let us do it better now, dear friends. Beneficence is only one way of employing wealth. It relieves misery, appeases hunger, saves from the cold, and provides shelter to those who lack it. So that is the charity where we share our material wealth. And it's called beneficence. It helps, but it's limited in its scope. Then he says, however, an equally pressing and meritorious obligation consists in preventing misery from occurring in the first place, right? One is we put a Band-Aid on the wound, and the other one is we go to the root cause of the wound. Why is there an ulcer? Why is there a tumor? Why is there poverty? Why is there homelessness? And of course, we can't always do it alone. There's no question, because it may be beyond our know-how, our means, and everything else. But our intention is there, and then maybe we find a team we can work with and support this goal. So, preventing misery, a new intention for us. Preventing misery. It is there, principally, where the mission of the great fortune lies, a mission to assist in all sorts of projects which such fortunes can help to execute. Were such projects to provide a legitimate profit, good would come of it nonetheless, because labor develops the mind and exalts the dignity of people who are always proud to be able to say that they have earned the bread they eat, whereas the receiving of alms humiliates and degrades them. Makes sense, right? So if we find someone who doesn't have money, or let's say doesn't have any food, it's beautiful to donate food. It's one important step. But what we're learning right now from Fenelon is it's much more important to actually go and see that we can help the individual to earn their food, to find what is preventing them from working, and to start supporting right there. Because once somebody can earn their own food, there is so much more self-worth in that than receiving a handout. Wealth concentrated in only one hand should be like a fount of living water that spreads fertility and well-being all around it. And he's also talking about the wealth of finding out why this scarcity is happening in our brother or sister, and how we can be of help. That's a form of wealth. It's intelligence, it's education, it's knowledge that we're applying to investigate and hopefully be even more effective in our charitable acts. If Jesus speaks primarily of alms, it is because at the time and in the land in which he was living, one did not know about the work that the arts and industry would create later, and in which wealth could be usefully employed for the overall good of society. To all those who can give little or much, I will say, give alms when necessary, but as much as possible, convert them into wages so that those who receive them will not feel ashamed. It's beautiful, right, friends? So Fenelon reminds us again that there is a strict accounting of our wealth that we have received as trustees and administrators, and that includes the properties, houses we may own. We're not truly owners of a piece of earth. We're just trustees, administrators. We're caregivers, but not true owners. So then he says there's two ways of helping out, of charity. One is beneficence, and it relieves misery, hunger, cold, and provides shelter, and so forth. And then there is that's called preventing misery, assisting in such projects, reaching more people, being more effective, and less humiliating. And we're reminded of what Lao Tzu said. He said, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. It is an old piece of wisdom that Fenelon is telling us in his own words by saying, give alms when necessary, but as much as possible, convert them into wages so that those who receive the alms will not feel ashamed. Dear friends, we've received so much beautiful advice today. And hopefully we will take it deeply into our hearts and minds. Hi, Teresa. Hi, Tony. And all the others. I see so many friends here. And always feel free to say hello, and so we can exchange our love. Thank you so much, dear friends, for being here. I think we've got a better picture of how to be charitable and the importance of being charitable, fine-tuning our desire to make a difference. Next week, so God willing, we will meet again, continuing this beautiful chapter, because we have now, next week, the detachment from earthly possessions, which is a long entry. And then we will, lastly of this chapter, learn about the transmission of wealth. So to be continued. Wishing you a beautiful rest of your day, and thank you so much for joining. Much love and peace. God bless you. Goodbye.